Oh, something's not happening. Well, good morning. We're not going to do an intro, I guess.
Oh,
Hi, let me put me in here.
oh, okay.
I was going to do an intro, but the banners didn't come up. So, hi, this is ASMM Digital's Marketing Moms podcast, and I'm Ann Brennan, and this is
Anastasia Van Gresheby.
And we are going to make marketing easy for you. That's our goal. Our goal each and every week is to make marketing easy for you. You've hopefully missed us the past few weeks. The truth is, I'm not sure I thought anybody really missed us. But Anastasia has a story to tell about how we know that at least one person does. So,
Yes.
Anastasia, you want to tell your story?
One of our listeners is also my functional medicine person. I don't know. I cannot remember if she's a nurse practitioner or a physician's assistant, but anyway, she's been helping me through my journey of trying to not feel sick every day. And she was like, I had an appointment with her last week, and then she was like, "Oh, why haven't you guys had a podcast?" No, actually, no. I told her that I'd been in Australia, and she said, "Is that why there hasn't been a podcast?" And I was like, "Wait a minute. What do you mean there hasn't been a podcast?" Anne said she was going to do them by herself, and she was like, "Uh-oh," and I'm like, Anne is busted. But
Exactly.
she was like, "Oh, please don't tell Anne." But I was like, Anne's going to be so excited that somebody noticed that we didn't have a podcast for a couple of weeks.
Exactly. So just so you know, we missed two. The first one was because I was flying out of town. The second one, I can't remember. I think I was just too busy and you weren't here and I couldn't figure out how to do it without you. Just couldn't think of what to say. And then last week I did do one all by myself. And it did pretty well, actually. I had a bunch of people comment afterwards. And so I did do one while you were away.
And the funny thing is, I was here. I was back already.
Exactly. You were back. Well,
I was back, but I was
but you were still asleep.
I was fast asleep.
Exactly.
I got back from Australia. It was like 11 p.m. on Sunday night, and I slept. My husband let me sleep until 1:30, and then he came in and he was like, "Okay, it's like 1:30 in the afternoon. You need to get out of bed." But
exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So, all right. So we're going to jump right in. This is not going to be that long of a podcast. Interestingly, actually, let me start, and then I'm going to tell you how I spoke at the Better Business Bureau last week, and it became a much longer talk than I expected, and it has around the subject. So the question we get asked most often, and I think people think this is the question that's going to solve all of their problems, right? If I know the answer to this, I know how to do social media marketing. They always ask, what is the very best social media network? What's the very best platform to be on? That's the question. And so that's what we're here to answer today. And it's, of course, going to be, it depends, right? So
definitely.
So I want to give you two things. First of all, we're going to tell you we want you to be on all of them. And we're going to tell you that because of SEO, right? SEO, search engine optimization, is all about being found. So if they don't find your website because your website isn't up to par, maybe they'll find you on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or LinkedIn. Hopefully they'll find you on Google My Business. If you've been listening to this show or watching this show and you are not on Google My Business, then I don't know what to tell you. Maybe shut your doors. I like, just to be a mean mom, just shut your doors, because if you're not on Google My Business, for crying out loud, you are not going to be found. That's where you have to be. I'm just telling you now. So that's that. But last week I gave a talk for the Better Business Bureau, and this was one of the things I was talking about is, well, the truth is I was talking about what's coming up for social media. But what happened was there were, I don't know, 100 people, maybe a few more in the room on the Zoom call, and all these chat messages were coming. And it was really interesting because they said, I own a wedding venue. Where should I be? I own a plumbing company. Where should I be? And all of them were just firing these questions at me. Which platform? So I spent probably 30 minutes going through that and talking about those industries and things that were similar, right? So I tried not to just say, well, your plumbing should be here, right? Plumbing, honestly, I think should be everywhere, but specifically it should be on Facebook, it should be on Instagram, and it should be on LinkedIn, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But it's really important to realize that before you can think about where should I focus, you think about where I should be. And maybe that's the difference. You think
Yeah,
that's the case,
I
Anastasia?
agree with that. I agree with that wholeheartedly, because there's so many things that determine where you should be. I mean, it's not just the type of business that you have, it's the location that you're at and what people are doing in that location. We have a restaurant that's down the street from us, that's a client. We expected them to be doing a lot better on Instagram, but they're not. Their Facebook is doing great. So that's where
Right.
their customers are. So it's not about where you think you should be or where industry standards are going. It's more about where finding your customers, finding where they are, and then marketing to them.
Exactly. Well, and that brings up a really interesting point, because we talked about Zane's playing at all these different places these days, right? He's playing at all these different bars and restaurants. And what we find is two things, actually. One thing was kind of fun for Zane. But the first thing is that sometimes we'll go into the bar and we'll try to tag them. And I want to do it on Instagram because that's where Zane is, because he's a musician, and so really we don't have the bandwidth to put him everywhere. We probably will be doing that shortly because he's getting more views on everything right now. But I want to tag their Instagram page, and they don't have one, and so that's awful, because I could, with Zane's followers, I could show more people his restaurant or this bar, right? But because they're not on there, I can't. So you want to be where your customers are, even if that's not where your main focus is.
Exactly.
So, I'll tell you the fun story though, Anastasia, because I haven't told you this yet. So every week we go, and I shouldn't say every week. Most weeks we go to Lahenge Bar and Grill over in it doesn't matter, somewhere in Montgomery County, Potomac. And when we go, if we're going to go, I know there are some people who say, hey, if Zane's playing, let me know. So what I do is I put it on Facebook. I share the message from Wolf Crescens, who does the jam, and I put it on and say, hey, Zane's going to be playing at Lahenge tonight. And last week we walked in and they said, we knew we were coming. We saved you a table. And I was like, how did you know we were coming? Because we don't come every week. And they said, we saw it on Instagram.
Oh, that's
So
great.
I was like, well, that's really great. That's really cool. So yeah, I mean, people are paying attention. So you need to be everywhere, but let's kind of drill down and talk about, well, Anastasia, your favorite is Facebook, right?
I mean, for the most part, that's where I'm at. I mean, I do go to Instagram, but I think because I've been doing Facebook, and that's where predominantly my family is. And when I started, I mean, the reason I started Facebook is because at the time we were living in South Korea. So we had family here in the States and family in Australia. And then, I'm a Heinz 57 kid. So we're all over the world. We have family. So I wanted to make sure that I could stay connected. And since that's the platform that they were predominantly on, that's where they are. That's where I live.
Yeah.
And I'm in there all the time for work anyway. So.
Well, and that's I'm so glad you said it that way, because I know right now that Facebook is aggravating the crap out of you from a business standpoint, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is really difficult to deal with, even for us, and we have access to them, right?
Yes.
But I love that you said that, because people will say to me, oh, I hear Facebook is going down. Well, yeah, Facebook's having some problems, but they're probably going to come back. I do think that they're making a pivot that's going to help them come back. But even so, there are still like 3 billion people on there every single day.
That log in every single day. And look, the Social Media Examiner released their report. I'm just finding my notes because I mentioned it last week in my BNI. They mentioned that Facebook is declining. Yes, it's declining, but 93% of marketers still consider Facebook their number one spot for marketing. Instagram comes in second with 78%. So, 93% of marketers aren't wrong. Why? Because they are, I mean, we're talking about billions of people that are on this. So in the United States, still, okay, the kids might not be their kids, my 15-year-old doesn't have a Facebook page. But she's also not going to spend any money because she doesn't have any, so
right, exactly.
So it's not only, where are people hanging out? Yes, the younger people are hanging out on Instagram, my 15-year-old. Now, by the time she enters the market in a real way, where it's going to make a big difference economically, by the time that generation, who knows, there might be something else that's come that they like even more. So you have to look at the times. Like, yes, you do need to look ahead and look at, okay, those people that are currently in their early 20s or in college that are going to be making financial purchases, now and in the next however many years, are they on Instagram? Yes, but is that your target audience? So
Right. Exactly. So yeah, I mean, I think you have to think about that. That's a huge thing to think about, right? So yes, Facebook, pretty much everybody needs to be there, right? It does not have to be your primary focus.
No.
But you should at least be there. That I just want to make that clear. It doesn't have to be your primary focus. So let's start again and say the big question is where you should be. We think you should be everywhere, but you have to focus on one. Most people do. Most people have to focus on one. Even us as marketers, we're focusing on one for each of our clients. We know what their area is. And so that's really important. Instagram, it's coming up fast. You just said it, 78% of marketers are there, right?
Yes.
It is coming up very fast. And part of it is because, actually, I'll be honest, part of it is because TikTok pushed Instagram's buttons. They started taking some of the market share. Well, TikTok's got a lot of money. I mean, Instagram's got a lot of money behind it. And so they were able to basically copy exactly what TikTok was doing and create these reels. And now people are coming over there and putting them there, right? You still got people on TikTok, but it's not as well established as far as marketing goes. It's much harder. You can't post to TikTok I don't think you can post to it from any of the schedulers. So people aren't there. So Instagram, you want to be there, but you specifically want to be there if you're sexy. And I don't mean the show me your butt girls. Those are sexy. Yes, I'm sure. The little butts are great. Actually, I would love to have a butt like most of those girls who are showing their butts, but I don't. And I'm 53 years old, so that's okay. But it is important that if you have a sexy product, we're working with Sunday PC, that's a sexy product. It's a brand new PC that's coming out. That's huge, right? Who else? Absolutely everything curly. Oh my gosh, if you're not following them, you've got curly hair, you're missing out because they do amazing stuff. And it's really cool. They're using Instagram and they're using Reels. Think about Reels as, use my phone so you guys can see it. Lengthways is a reel, just like a TikTok, right? And you're going to take a video less than 1 minute and post it. If you think about curly hair, you can shake it all around. I have no curly hair whatsoever. You shake it all around, you can make it look beautiful on a reel. So those are the kinds of things that Instagram is good for. And we've talked about it before. Use their tools, use their toys. They like reels right now. They're showing them. Zane is getting 4,000 plus views on his videos on Instagram right now. That's a huge thing. By the way, I'll put his stuff in the feed. You guys can follow my baby. And then, Anastasia, you have anything else to add about Instagram?
No, I think that I like Instagram. I do like going on there. There are some things that I feel from a business perspective that they could do better to help businesses out, even just enabling links. But I also understand that they're not doing that because then it takes people off of their platform, which they're, trying to keep people there, which is a whole other story, right? Right. I think that there are some things that they could do better for businesses. But for now, I mean, people are very happy. The restaurants typically do well. A sexy product isn't necessarily like it could. I mean, it's something that's good pictures just make a big difference on there too.
Absolutely. Well, you said restaurants, coffee shops, but home stuff too, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you want to make it, you want to present something in the best light possible. It doesn't necessarily mean that you need to have a professional photo shoot because you can tell the difference. And people do like real things. They love it when, even just taking a picture of your plate at dinner, something really, I think when you say sexy, I feel like it's something that it evokes something in you, right? So whether it's like, oh, I want to eat that, or oh, I really want to buy that. So it's evoking emotion. Like that's what it is. And Yeah. And
Well,
you know
and it
what,
should
if
be pretty,
talking about
right?
plumbers, you mentioned plumbers earlier. Yeah, like evoking emotion, like when you see a picture of a flooded basement, that's evoking emotion, right? Like that could be
Absolutely.
that some pipes burst or something and you're like, oh, I don't want that to happen. So that's what happens all the
Absolutely.
time. I'm always wondering about my sump pump. Like, is it working?
Is it working? Yeah, exactly. Well, so actually that's a good point, Anastasia. I had a meeting last week with a bar out this way, and I was helping them with their social media. And I wish you had met him. He was probably in his 70s, and he's doing his social media himself. He doesn't have a budget for us, but he posts every single day, which I was very proud of. And then I looked at what he posted and I said to him, just because you can put words all over the picture doesn't mean you should.
Mm-hmm.
And on Instagram, that is specifically true. A flyer on Instagram is not going to get you anywhere. A flyer on Facebook is not going to get you anywhere. Don't use your flyers. That's not where they're for. You can create events for that. There's any number of things you can do for that, but don't put your flyers up as a post. That's just not.
Well,
It's
you need
not
to
okay.
remember
It's not what
that
it's for, and people
the
are going to fly
majority
by it.
the majority of people are looking at Instagram, they're looking at their social media on their phone. That's how small the screen is.
Right.
Like you shouldn't be having to magnify what you're looking at. Like the message needs to be, and if they're interested, if the image and the little bit of wording it catches their eye,
Right.
then they're going to look at the post. That's where you put the information. You don't need to be putting the information in the image,
Exactly.
and the algorithms don't like that, so they're not going to show it. So you really need
Absolutely.
to think about that when you're putting things. I mean, we get things from clients, they're like, hey, post this, and it's like, I can, but it's not going to do anything for you. Like, let me
Right.
just make something, instead of, and if
Right.
you're working with an agency, just give them the information, let them create.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. All right. Twitter, I personally love, and I'm going to tell you, I love it because I've been there a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. I actually tell most of my clients that it's not a place you have to be. There are exceptions. If you're an author, you have to be there because it's a place for authors. If you're a news reporter, you have to be there. There are some industries where you really should be there, but not many.
Mm-hmm.
And you do want to have an account there so that if somebody is there and they say, I went to this restaurant and I loved it, they can post it, right? And you want to monitor it just in case somebody says, I went to this restaurant and I found a toe in my food. That would be gross. But if they found a toe in your food, you would want to know that they did. So it wasn't just out on social media that way. So you want to monitor it, but you don't want to focus on it for the most part. It's a place, unless you're already there, unless you have a big following, there's really no really good need for that. That's just to say that.
By the way, Athena found you on Twitter. I don't think she has a Twitter account, but she was like, "Oh my gosh, do you know how many followers Miss Ann has on Twitter?" I was like, "I do know how many followers she has.
This is part of my job. I do know that."
Yeah, we're very lucky at our agency in that you love Twitter, so you are doing a lot of Twitter things, and Whitney and Jordan both love Instagram. So, Whitney will do extra things on Instagram. And then I'm on Facebook. Like I'm the one that checks all that stuff. So we're lucky in that regard, in that even though like you can focus on one, for our agency, we have people that focus on, we do have different focuses. So
absolutely. LinkedIn, everybody thinks of it. What is it? It's what people say, it's a resume place. It's where you put your resume, right?
It's not.
So it's not. That's not what you should think of it as, especially as a business. And I'm going to give you what I think is an unusual way to use it. A lot of people, so we work with a medical consultation company called Medical Links. I love them. And that's where they are. It's a great place for them. But I also say to realtors, you should be there. I say to plumbers, you should be there. And the reason is that it's not crowded with a lot of businesses talking about what they do. If you're posting there, you're able to establish yourself. And it's a great place. It is a great place for what we talked about a couple of weeks ago, which was using your social media to attract people, right? Attract employees, not just customers, employees. And we're currently working with a client on that way, right? Mm-hmm. We're helping them establish their brand, and their only focus is on attracting employees, right?
Yes.
So, and not just on LinkedIn for them. It's actually, we're attracting employees for them across the board.
I've found that people that some people don't want to be on social media, period, right? So they avoid Facebook, they avoid Instagram, they just avoid it all. But if they're professionals, they're most likely on LinkedIn. If they have looked for a job anytime in the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, like they're most likely there. So it could be you're reaching people that you're not there, that you're not going to reach on any other platform. Like people that have Facebook, no, people that have Instagram most likely have Facebook, unless they're young.
Right.
But actually, I would say even the people that are in their late teens, early 20s, they started on Facebook, right? So they still have an account there. But people that are on, I would say even Twitter and LinkedIn, they're not necessarily on the other platforms. So using LinkedIn is an important part, like that's where some people only are there. So you need to, you can't ignore it. That's why when people are like, oh no, I'm doing it on this one, it's like, no. You can't just focus. You can focus on one, but you have to have all of them. You need to be everywhere. And with scheduling these days, it's super easy.
That's what I was about to say.
And I went to an event and somebody was like, oh, well, I schedule my Facebook post on this day, and then I'll put the same post up on Instagram a different day. And I'm like, you can go ahead and do that, but you're wasting your time. Like there's no reason that every platform can't go on at the same time. And why is that? Because just like we said, as a business, you should focus on one. People are focused on one platform. They're not everywhere, because who has time? It's already a time suck, regardless of the platform that you're going on. You're using time up. So they're not going to notice if they saw the same thing.
That's what I was about to say. Even if they do, even if they go, oh, I saw that, they'll think, I saw that already, right? It just came up again. They're not going to think, oh, well, they put that on Facebook, on Instagram. They're not going to do that. It's just not a thing that they do.
And here's the thing. They might not have noticed it the first time they saw it. They might have been on Facebook and then went to Instagram. And even though it came up on their feed, you're not, when you're scrolling through social media, you're not intently reading every single thing that comes up. You're seeing what catches your eye. Sometimes, and this is why you should never put something up just once. It's the second time or the third time that you see something that it actually catches. And it could be because of recognition, right? So your brain's like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And then you're not even thinking, oh, the reason I think that's cool is because I've seen it before.
Right. Exactly. So that's so true. So yeah. So, I mean, so you might want to focus on LinkedIn if you're finding that, first of all, that the other ones aren't working as well for you anymore. Right. And you're unusual, right? An ice cream shop on LinkedIn is an unusual thing. But how many times do you sit at work and think, oh my God, it's 2:00 and I'd like a snack, right? That ice cream comes along. You're like, ooh, I'm going to take the kids for ice cream tonight, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's just something you think about. So absolutely. So Anastasia, who should be on Google My Business?
Oh, who should be? Like you said, if you're not on Google My Business, shut your doors. I mean, really, you have to be there. You have to be. You have to have a presence there. And if you've had a business and you've closed, like shut down your Google My Business page, because that happened to me recently. I was in Australia with my brother. We were looking for something, and he was like, oh, I don't know. He's like, I don't know where to go. And I was like, use Google. Like, it's at your fingertips. He Googles everything too. So I was surprised that he didn't come up with that, because he's always saying, hey, Google. But I was on Google Maps in Australia, just like, looking it up. And then I was like, oh, I wonder how that, like, if everybody's using it here as well as they should be, my brother's father-in-law is working for a company, a European company that's brand new in Australia. And he was asking me about social media and stuff like that. And that was the one thing I said. I was like, well, what about your Google My Business page? And he was like, oh, I don't have that. And I was like, well, you have to have that, because the number one reason that you have to have a Google My Business page is if somebody is on the internet looking for you, most likely they're on Google looking for you, looking for a business like you, looking for a business near them. If you are not on Google My Business, you're going to rank lower. You're not going to come up. Google is going to help. Google's there to help us. I'm always, I think every time we have a podcast, I talk about how difficult Facebook makes my life in terms of the business side. But
Yes.
Google's trying to help businesses, like they really, really
That's their
are.
job. That's their main
Yes,
job.
They really are. And they're doing it for free. They're not charging you
Yes.
anything. And here's the thing, they don't change the damn rules every other day. Like every
Right.
time we go to Facebook, something has changed. I understand that they might be trying to make it better. I think that they're just making
I don't know
life
what
difficult.
they're trying to do. Just
But
piss me off, honestly.
Google is, yes, you need to go in there frequently. If you don't have an agency, you need to be in there frequently just to like see what's new, because they do come up with new things, but their primary way of you putting in your information is the same, and they're still not charging for what they're doing. So at some point that may change, but it might
I
not.
think it won't, because
They're a
I
big
think
enough
people are going to
company.
find it. I think people are going to find that they're getting enough out of Google this way that they're going to say, oh, well, maybe I should, maybe I should spend money on ads. I know that's what we did.
Mm-hmm.
We used to say we don't need ads, right? We're doing great. And we still are doing great. But then I saw how well we were doing on Google, and I was like, well, let's put a little money behind it and see how much more, how much better I do. So it does make a huge difference. I actually am going to throw you something from left field.
Oh yeah.
Something we haven't talked about, but I think is important. And you know how I say this a lot, but I say it probably in every episode. Right now, actually, I'm going to give you an actionable item before we usually do our actionable item. After you're done listening to this, go to Apple Maps and claim your business. And I'm going to tell you why. Right now, if I ask my phone and I say, hey, I want to go eat tacos, I'll tell her. And what she's going to do first is look at Google and find the listings, right? Because that's where most of the listings are. But now they're letting you have a listing on Apple. So shortly, and I mean very shortly, if it's not within, a month, it will be very soon. When you ask your phone, it's going to get them first from Apple Maps. And what's going to happen is if your competition's on Apple Maps and you're not going to be seen. So when you're done with this podcast, I want you to go to Apple Maps. It's the single most important thing. Go there now and claim it. They're not as developed as Google My Business yet. You're not going to be able to post. You're not going to be able to put in a lot of descriptions and services and stuff like that. It will change. I'm betting everything on
it will get there.
Really
I mean, you really called this when we first started doing things on Google My Business, that was years ago now. It had been around, but it wasn't as prevalent, I would say. And people were still not. And actually, you know what, even though we say, like, we're actually going to San Diego on Saturday to go to Social Media Marketing World. And when we went there last time, 2 years ago, we were surprised by the lack of content about Google My Business there. Like, there was nobody from Google there. I haven't looked to see if anybody's going to be there yet this year, but I'm curious about that, because I think it's leaving money on the table. I think it's letting somebody else take your customers is really what it is.
Yeah.
That's really what it is, right? So by not claiming your Google My Business listing and now your Apple Maps listing, by not claiming these things, I mean, Bing has one too, don't they? But they're not great.
But you know what? Here's the interesting thing about Bing. It pulls it from Google.
Oh, okay. That makes sense, because most people aren't going to Bing to do it. And we haven't had great success with the people that we have used on there. But if you're not doing that and you're not claiming that and claiming, like putting the flag in the ground and saying, this is my little plot of land and I am going to, this is where I'm mining, if you don't do that, then you're basically handing your customers to another business.
Exactly. You
on
know
a
what?
silver
Actually,
platter
Anastasia,
because
what you just
they're
said, absolutely. What you just said, planting your flag in the ground, it's like opening a store and not putting anything in the front windows and not putting up a sign.
Mhm.
That's what it's like. It's like, I have a store, but I'm not going to tell anybody.
Yeah, you're not going to be
Don't
able
do
to
that.
see. You're not going to be able to see what's in it. Now, if you have,
Absolutely.
if you have a storefront where people and there's a lot of traffic and people are going to see it, that's great. But here's the thing: not everybody goes out. I went shopping this weekend, yesterday with my kids because they needed some shoes. I can't tell you the last time I stepped inside a mall. Like
Yes.
I don't like to shop very much. Like
Right.
I'm busy. I'm tired. If I have downtime, the last place I want to be is at the mall. So
Absolutely.
you need to think about that. You need to think about, like, so when I'm looking for something, I mean, yes, I'm in the marketing business and we put all of our clients on Google My Business, but I go to my phone first. I search
Absolutely.
there.
Almost everybody does.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this. I want to say it again. So I'm writing it down so that Amanda can actually put this clip into the thing. So Amanda, I want you to put this clip into a form that we can put out there. Good idea for you guys too, right? That's repurposing. But Amanda, here's what we're going to tell people again. Not claiming your Google My Business or your Apple Maps directory is like opening a business and not putting a sign up. Period. That's what it is. If you don't do that, if you don't have Apple Maps or Google My Business, then you are missing out on people who can come in and spend money with your business. That's a point. That's it. That's all I have to say about that. But hopefully she'll copy that down. All right. TikTok. Everybody asks us about TikTok. Should I say this since I'm the one that's so adamant about it, or do you want to say it?
No, you should, because I don't even have a TikTok account. I don't have one. My kids don't have one. I recently found out that it's not like you can't set limits, and I don't know if that's correct. But I'm like, what do you mean you can't set limits? Like, I see little kids on there all the time. Like,
yes.
What are they being exposed to? Which just, nailed it in for me. I was like, no, my kids cannot have it. Call me up,
absolutely.
Call me whatever you want, but I even though I'm in social media, I can see the downside to it too. So that's my parenting there. But I don't, but everybody is on there, do you, but
I have been of the opinion from the very beginning that TikTok was going to be around for a little while and go away. And I still believe that, because Instagram and Facebook have so much money that the truth is, whatever you try, they're going to copy and they're going to do better. It just is a fact. They're going to do it better. They do it really, really well. They make it very, very easy for you. As a business owner, I just don't see being on TikTok. Now, there may be some exceptions. If you are a rap artist, if you are an artist of any sort, if you are a actor or a painter or anything along those lines, it's probably a great place to be. Anybody else? It's for business. For business, I'm just talking business. Just stick with the main ones. It's just not worth getting. What was the other one? I was trying to think of it earlier. What was the one that we would talk? It was just talk, and now nobody's even talking about it anymore. No, not Snapchat. It was the one. StreamYard keeps coming to my head, and that's what we're using for this. It was something else. But it was
Clubhouse.
Clubhouse. Yeah, Clubhouse was the hot thing. Everybody was jumping on it. I even went on there for a little bit, mostly because I do try to check all of these things out. I don't just say, oh, no, because, that's what Kodak did and went out of business, right?
Yeah.
We want to check everything out and make sure it's going to be okay, right? But right from the beginning, I thought TikTok's great for certain things. It's just not best. It's not. There's a lot of other places. You could be on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google My Business, Apple Maps. You can be on any of them. So why add a seventh one, right? Unless it really proves itself, don't add another one. And we're here. We'll if we see something great come out, we'll try it. If we think it's wonderful, try it.
Yeah, like if you have, if you are a person that loves to sing and dance and like that's just your personality, that's your brand, right? So this comes down, I feel like TikTok comes down to brand. If you already were doing fun little things like this because, okay, TikTok didn't invent anything really. Like, yes, it's videos. I mean, they changed, they've got a little bit of a different format, but it's still videos on social media. So, you were able to do that on Facebook and Instagram, and you can put up videos on Twitter. So I think what you need to think about is it on brand? If that's your brand and you're fun and you're doing that kind of stuff, you walk into your dentist's office and there's always funky music playing and people dancing, that's on brand, right? And that might be something that attracts people. So yes, maybe TikTok's for you there, but I don't know. I think that
I agree.
I'm not sold on it. I think the only time you should use it if it really is on brand. I was watching a thing this morning on the news about duets, how they allow duets.
Shoot. We've lost Anastasia for a minute. While she'll come back, I am 100. Oops, there you go.
I'm here. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was watching this thing about duets. Yeah, they were talking about duets and how they could take a video that's already gone viral and then have like another singer like sing with that person. And since the main content was viral, then it really boosts the viewing of the other ones. So yeah, so for people that are singers that are trying to, break in, maybe that's going to help them. But
thinking about your brand, Anastasia, it's so important because what if you think, well, this is a really cool trend, I'm going to do it, and you do something that offends people or makes them think, say you're a dentist office and suddenly you're dancing around with your shirt off. Are people going to be comfortable coming to you, right?
Yeah.
But I was thinking, what if you were, this is just out of the blue, I don't know anybody who does this, but what if you were a donut shop owner and also happened to be a really good singer-songwriter, right? And so when you came in the morning, you could literally stand in front of your donuts, singing songs or doing something fun. And that would be kind of fun, maybe attract people and create something. But if you're going to do that, it goes back to what we talk about all the time, which is consistency.
Mm-hmm.
You have to do it on a regular basis. It's not going to be your first video. It probably won't be your 20th video.
Exactly.
Right? It's going to take multiple times before people start going, oh, look at
that.
The
chances of something going viral are minuscule. It's like buying a lottery ticket for the Powerball. That's like, when they're like, $1 billion and everybody and their dog has a ticket,
right,
or
exactly.
20 tickets because they think that that's going to increase it. So now, there's 20 million people with 20 tickets each. It's just diluted. So that's what the chances of something going viral on TikTok are. Now, and the only good thing I think about the TikTok videos is that you can post them on the other platforms, which I think is great.
Exactly.
But
again, it comes down to consistency, right?
Consistency and brand. Is it on brand for you to do that?
Absolutely. All right. I want to remind you, we talk about a lot of things here and we go pretty fast. It's bothering me. I just have to say, I can see these banners over here. You guys can't see them, but I can still see them. And I want to go back to why we talked about Google My Business and Apple Maps. We specifically talked about Google My Business because I personally think right now it is another social media platform because you can post on there every single day. Apple Maps is not that. And so it's bothering me that I mentioned both of those in this episode. But Apple Maps is so new and it's so important that I did mention them. And I do think it will become a social media platform. And I do think there is a possibility that for businesses, Google My Business and Apple Maps will take over what you're doing for your marketing. I think it can be the place that's where you want to be more than anywhere else. So if you can only be in one place, if you're absolutely like, I can't be anywhere else, be on Google My Business. If you can be on two places, be on Google My Business and Apple Maps. If you can be on more, do all of them and focus on one of them. And if you can only focus really on one, it has to be Google My Business. If you can focus on two, it really depends on your industry, and we're always here to help. So sorry, I know I got distracted, but it was bothering me as I was watching that people would be like, but I thought we were talking about social media. So I want to remind you.
It is social media. You need to remember that. Those things are part of social media. And because social media is not just about being on those social platforms, it's also about search engine optimization. It's an organic search engine optimization. It's something that you're not paying directly for to increase your rankings, but it does help increase your rankings. So
absolutely,
you do need to think about everything. Look at our logo up in the corner of the screen. Everything works together. One thing is not going to do it for you, but having it all combined is what's going to make you more successful. It's going to make your marketing more successful.
Absolutely. 100%. Absolutely. All right. Speaking of that, if you want to learn more about social media marketing, digital marketing, any marketing at all, go over to asmmdigital.com. Look at the blog. Today's blog post is all about how to make donations online or how to create charity online. So that's a really good one today. I also want to remind you, Burgers and Bands is coming up. So burgersandbands.org, if you want to sponsor, if you want to learn more about it, if you just want to make a donation, because everybody likes to make donations. And next week we are going to be doing a special episode Anastasia knows nothing about, and I'm just going to say it really fast.
Oh my gosh, see, look at this.
That's what I do.
That's what she does to me all the time. She's always calling me, don't be mad, but. And then I'm like, you're my boss, so I can't really get mad.
Exactly. So next week, I don't exactly know how we're going to do it, but we're going to be talking about social media marketing world. When we're there, we will be doing live videos throughout the day. Those will not go up as podcasts. So if you are not following us on social media, go follow us. We will be on Facebook, actually, almost primarily all the time on Facebook next week. But follow us and find out what's happening at social media marketing world. We are going to have the top news. We may even end up with somebody, who is a leading marketer on the show. I have no idea, but it will be something social media marketing world related, and it will be exciting. We will see you next week. Hope you're doing well.
Hopefully it's not raining.
Let us know how we did. Gosh, no, it's supposed to be gorgeous. It's supposed to be gorgeous.
I know, but I seem to take the rain. I seem to take the rain everywhere I go. I went to Arizona for Christmas. It rained the whole time. I just was in Australia. I had a great first week. It was like in the 90s. It was so nice. My chiropractor said that I got a little bit of color, which I was like, oh, I could use that. And then the second week I was in Sydney, and it downpoured every single day. So
if you bring the rain with us, I'm going to be mad.
I know you're going to never take me again.
I need the sun.
I know I need the sun myself. And last time, remember the time the first time I went, I think it was your second time. It was raining so hard that the San Diego Convention Center was leaking. Like it was leaking.
It was coming through. It was through the lights.
That's right.
It was coming in through the lights. It was crazy.
So if we're in San Diego next week, hit us up. We're going to be there. And you can find us on Facebook at ASMM Digital. So look for us there.
Absolutely. I'm going to do something different. I'm going to play our intro as our outro. We'll see you later. All right. That's it. See you later.